Police in India have charged the country's wrestling federation chief with sexual harassment against women athletes. Brij Bhushan Singh has been accused of sexually harassing female wrestlers, including a minor, over a period of 10 years, starting in 2012. Many of India's most well-known names in female wrestling, including Olympic medalist Sakshi Malik, initially demanded action back in January. They led protests on behalf of women who had reached out to them, alleging harassment from Brij Bhushan Singh. But seeing authorities dragging their feet on the matter forced the women back onto the streets in April.
This is neither a playground nor a gymnasium, but a New Delhi street where in recent days wrestlers have been practicing their sport and coaching students every morning. They are here for a reason. This is the Jantar Mantar area, a designated protest site in the city, where for the past week, professional wrestlers, including some Olympic medalists, have been sitting to demand justice. They demand the arrest of Brij Bhushan Singh, the head of the Wrestling Federation of India, for sexual harassment. Singh, who is also a top politician for the governing BJP, allegedly sexually harassed multiple women wrestlers for years. This is the second time protesters have taken to the streets this year. They accuse the government of dragging its heels with an inquiry. 7 women, including a minor, have filed a complaint against Singh, who denies the allegations. Olympic medalist Sakshi Malik says sexual abuse of women has been a long-standing problem in the wrestling community, and likely in other sports too.
There must be a lot more women who have been harassed, but not everyone can have the courage to come forward. All of us here, men and women, finally decided that enough is enough.
Malik says it's important to end the menace of abuse that she says most Indian women face. Many people have come out in support of the wrestling community, raising slogans demanding answers from the government, asking that if this is the situation of the sportswomen in the country, those who win medals for the country, bring laurels to the country, if this is their state that they have to stage a protest against sexual harassment, then what about other women across the country? What all do they have to deal with? Mariam Dhawale is a women's rights activist. She says every organization in India has to have a committee to look into complaints of sexual harassment. A mandate, she says, the federation ignored.
We never heard of any committee in the Wrestling Federation of India. We do not know who are the members if there is a committee. Nobody is aware, neither are these wrestlers aware.
The wrestlers say they will continue the protest till Singh is in jail.
It's unfortunate that we had to take to the streets. We've been sleeping and eating here for days. Girls are getting the wrong message. If we do not get justice this time, nobody will be able to raise their voice.
Malik says she and her fellow wrestlers have put everything at stake in this fight, and they are not about to back down.
All right, let's get more context on this from leading women's rights lawyer Dr. Charu Wali Khanna. She was also a member of India's National Commission for Women and joins me from Delhi. Dr. Khanna, police have filed 2 cases of sexual harassment against India's Wrestling Federation chief Brij Bhushan Singh. Why then does he continue to remain in his post?
See, the police has not filed the cases on its own. Unfortunately, they dragged their feet, and it was only on the orders of the Supreme Court that the police has filed the cases. And what is very shocking is that the rule of law has totally been violated, because apart from 354, which is sexual harassment, and the POSH Act, the POXO Act, that is the Protection of Children from Sexual Harassment Act, that very clearly says that there has to be mandatory reporting. What is mandatory reporting? Mandatory reporting is if anyone comes to know that an offense has been committed or is going to be committed, immediately the police has to be informed and they have to file a register. They have to register an FIR. Now, what is most shocking is that these children have been on the road for so long and the police simply refused to file the FIR. And according to the new law, which is the amendment in the IPC under section 166A, if the police refuses to file a case especially where women's issues are concerned, whether it's rape or sexual harassment. I mean, the person can be prosecuted. But it seems that all the law has been thrown to the wind. And finally, the girls had to go to the Supreme Court, who's given an order on basis of which the police has finally registered the case.
So what you're saying in simple terms is that the police needn't have waited for the Supreme Court to question them. The police should have acted on their own, looking at the nature of the complaints that were being made to them, correct?
Absolutely. A prima facie offense has been made. And they were duty-bound to register the case, especially where the girls were minors. But they did not. And even they've been, dragging their feet.
Right. You're an advocate who practices in the Supreme Court of India, so you've seen all manner of cases come before the court. What, in your view, is the reason that the police were dragging their feet in this matter?
See, there are many reasons. One of them is, of course, that the person, he was politically connected. So he tried every trick under the book not to get the case registered against him, because then he'll be exposed. And there'll be a proper investigation, which he was trying to avoid. And that investigation, he'll not be able to, kind of manipulate the investigation, especially since it's being monitored by the Supreme Court of India. The second is that whenever women complain of harassment, I mean, there were all kinds of WhatsApp messages and trolls and memes saying, oh, how can a woman wrestler be harassed? Does anyone have the courage or the himmat, what the word they use, to even harass or even touch a woman wrestler? But that's a very patriarchal outlook. It's about a power equation. He is a man in power, and he has misused his power to harass these young girls. And in sports, grooming is not an unknown phenomena, where the coaches, they tend to groom the children, they make them think that and these girls may have succumbed, because everyone's saying, why did they succumb? And they called him to their wedding, etc., etc. But because the girl, it's like a quid pro quo. The girls, they were worried about their careers, and the young girls from rural backgrounds, they worried about their careers. He must have made some kind of thing and the selection, he must have influenced the selection process of the wrestlers. And let me tell you that the Sexual Harassment Prevention Act, the POSH Act 2013, very clearly says that any action, any implied preferential treatment or which is detrimental falls under the category of sexual harassment. So he thinks he's above the law, as these politically connected people are, and he's tried to, but now things have to stop. Young women are changing and they're raising their voice.
I do want to talk to you about the patriarchy aspect that you've raised, but just on the point of law, isn't it the law of the land that also that these sports bodies, like other organizations in India, need to have sexual harassment committees? And does it not appear to be the case that based on a government investigation into this particular case, it appears that the Wrestling Federation of India did not have such a sexual harassment body? And if that is the case, does that not make sense, given that the person who was heading it has himself been accused of sexual harassment?
No, absolutely. The POSH Act very clearly says that every body, irrespective of, what they're involved in, any organization, more than 10 people, they have to have an internals committee. And the internal committee has to be headed by a woman. And not only a woman who's a senior member. Because, cases like this do come up. It's the persons who are in positions of authority and who can exude power, who indulge in this kind of sexual harassment. So that is why the law specifically says that. I am saying, assuming they did not have it and the complaint was against the Federation chief itself, then there's a thing called a local complaints committee, the SDM of the district, nominates the members. So the complaint could have gone there for an impartial, unbiased view. Apparently, the government, taking cognizance of this, appointed a high-level committee under Mary Com, which is because she's a very senior level boxer, very senior level athlete. But again, it's very clear, the law is very clear that within 10 days of the report, they have to share the report with both the parties. Not only the, the victims, but also the perpetrator.
Right.
But unfortunately, in this case, it's been like 4 months and nobody knows where is the report. Nobody has heard about it. So there have been many, I would say, gaps in the law taking place.
I do want to come back to the point about patriarchy that you had raised a little earlier, because I think it's important to this particular case. Because Vinesh Fogart, one of the protesting wrestlers, speaking to the Indian Express newspaper, had said, and I quote, "When women raise their voice, they are targeted first. They ask, how did we get the courage to speak against the system?" Unquote. Does this, in a way, indicate that the odds are stacked against women athletes in India if they raise their voice against sexual harassment?
There's no doubt about it. It's not only that the odds are stacked against women athletes, the odds are stacked against women per se. That's why there's no reporting. And when they say that a state has the highest number of rapes according to FIR, I say don't see it from the point, see it that the state is actually registering the cases. The registration of FIR is not capturing the true picture. It is only post Nirbhaya that women got the courage to come out and, report the matters, what's happening. I'm handling cases of rape victims. We're giving my NGOs, we're supporting them financially and otherwise. And the police does not, especially in a rural area, they are not registering cases. And where on the complaint, they'll write some number. So, I mean, it's a very sad situation. And these girls were athletes. I mean, if this is happening with them, with Olympians who have stature, who have prestige, who are role models for, the young generation. If this is happening with them, you can imagine what is the condition of the common poor person in a rural area.
Right. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Charu Wali Khanna. Thank you so much.